truth is that we do care about climate change, but we care about feeding our kids. We care about having a place to live. We care about clothes on our backs before that. And
hello, my name is Stanley Heller. Welcome to The Struggle. The Struggle shown on over 30 cable stations from Vermont to New York City. On the internet at thestruggle.org. Our YouTube channel, Struggle Video Media. There's a group of mostly Israeli Jews called B'Tselem, and for decades they've been reporting on what's going on in the West Bank and Gaza. Here's a piece they issued on Human Rights Day.
מפה, מינון, רק יהודים. למה?
One often hears about Palestinians throwing stones. In this video from B'Tselem, we see settlers throwing stones as the army watches. I'll read from the description on their YouTube channel. B'Tselem documented a 5-day campaign of violence by settlers against Palestinians in Hebron. Settlers repeatedly threw stones and bottles at Palestinian homes near the Kiryat Arba settlement fence, while Israeli security forces looked on. Settler violence intensified after 2 attacks by Palestinians in Hebron. The settlers sustained serious injuries and a border police officer was slightly injured. One perpetrator fled, the other was shot to death. In another incident, a confrontation developed with settlers and Palestinians throwing stones at each other. Soldiers stood by the former and fired tear gas at the latter. This glimpse of daily life in Hebron is an extreme example of the imbalance of power throughout the West Bank, in which Israeli forces back Israeli settler violence targeting Palestinians. Since October, the pace of killings in Palestine, Israel has gone up, and the mood inside of Jewish Israel is one to excuse any outrage against Palestinians. There seemed to be an attempt by an Israeli security agency to arrest those responsible for the 3 Duma firebombing deaths. The response in Israel was for 1,000 settlers to demonstrate near the home of Yoram Cohen, the head of the Shin Bet. 100 tried to storm his house. On the other hand, a group of brave Israelis rallied and called for an end to the cycle of killings.
جيش الحرب للأبد رئيس داعش والأسد جيش الحرب للأبد رئيس داعش والأسد.
I want to talk for a bit about the Paris Climate Agreement. The world leaders got together and patted each other on the back for their historic settlement. I wrote about it all for an article on Peace News that was also picked up by Truthdig. There are some words not mentioned in this agreement. Fossil fuel, oil, coal. Believe it or not, none of that was mentioned. There was tons and tons of promises, commitments. Promises to do something about the amount of carbon, but no concrete plans and nothing binding. They talk about commitments that were by law. But if you violate these commitments, nothing at all happens. Nobody's arrested, nobody's even fined. James Hansen, the great climate scientist who was the first to really alert the world to the gravity of the situation back in the 80s, called the Paris Agreement a fraud. There was a New York Times interactive on the last day of the Paris talks. You should go to my article and you'll be able to go to that interactive, and it shows what will happen to Shanghai. It shows the size of Shanghai now, and then it shows what would happen if there was a 2-degree increase. And you see about half the city disappears. And if it goes to 4 degrees, which we're on pace for in 2100, 3/4 of Shanghai disappears. And that's a city of 24 million people. You think we have refugees now, 60 million running around the earth looking for someplace. What's it going to be like when the major cities of the world are underwater? We don't have long. Michael Mann, who came up with the studies that showed the hockey stick, you might have seen that in Al Gore's presentation about climate, where things were going pretty much flat for a long time, and then when they got to our era, it goes up, and the whole thing looked like a hockey stick. And he says in 20 years, we'll have used up our carbon allotment and we'll be at 2 degrees above the pre-industrial world temperature average, a recipe for catastrophe. And we have 10 years to really make the plans to get this planet going carbon neutral. Otherwise, we are facing the ruin of civilization. Incredible. Now, some video from a climate activist demonstration in Hartford, Connecticut.
Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world.
My name is Desmond Batts. I'm a Master's of Environmental Science candidate at University of New Haven. I sit on the executive committee of the Sierra Club. I'm an activist and an organizer and a card-carrying member of the Black community since 1977. First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming out here. I want to thank 350 Connecticut and the Sierra Club for having me out here. And today I want to talk to you a little bit, very briefly, about environmental justice. Now, for you who don't know what environmental justice is, it goes a little something like this. Environmental justice means that no community should be overburdened with environmental burdens and not receive the environmental benefits. But those of us who live in environmental communities, we see firsthand that we are on the front lines. We are the canaries in the coal mines, and we are disproportionately affected by climate change. When people in Hartford look out their front doors, they don't see beautiful scenery and parks. They don't see happy families playing. They don't see self-actualized, self-aware people planning their future. But I tell you what they do see. They see garbage. They see abandoned buildings. They see cold, hard streets, colder politics, and colder policies. They don't see open spaces. They see cracks in sidewalks where green grass fights in vain to be noticed. They see empty dope bags. They see crack vials instead of smiles and dreams being fulfilled. They see violence, unemployment, and they suffering and chaos. So why would they step out of their homes to take a walk or to play a game when that walk or that game could very well end in harm for them? You know, there's a big misconception about the black community that we don't care about the environment. We don't care about climate change. And that's couldn't be further from the truth. The truth is that we do care about climate change, but we care about feeding our kids. We care about having a place to live. We care about clothes on our backs before that. And maybe a few more concerns, and then comes climate change. But I tell you what, when we look at the communities of color, climate change is a very small fish. But when the effects of climate change come back around, that big fish becomes a ravenous beast. It is a shark that will devour not only our neighborhoods, but yours as well. I tell you, thank you. I tell you right now, today is not a time for talk. Today is a time for change. It is a time for action. And I leave it up to you. It is a time for action. So I'll be very brief, and I'll leave you with one of my favorite quotes by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. He says, "A threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Let's stay in the fight.
My name is Bernardo McLaughlin. I'm a member of a group here in Connecticut called Capitalism versus the Climate. On Monday, I locked myself to a piece of equipment in eastern Connecticut at a work site of Spectra Energy, which is expanding their gas pipeline in order to transfer more fracking extracted gas through our backyards. I did it because I was inspired by the strategy that led to the victory against the Keystone XL pipeline, one of the first major victories we've had recently against climate chaos. And that strategy has to be adopted and repeated. And I came here today to do my part to upset the land of steady habits. Earlier this year, Connecticut had one of its first significant real days of direct action in recent memory. Here in my city, Hartford, where those of us who were part of the Hartford CT shut down one of the main traffic arteries that's used by corporate commuters to flee our city before the sun goes down. And we did it to send a message that if the wealthy and the powerful don't think that Black Lives Matter, then we'll assert that business as usual doesn't matter. And what we accomplished that day, that the elite of Greater Hartford were put on notice that our neighbors will not be brutalized without consequences. And we show that Connecticut is not immune to the radical, powerful spirit that's sweeping the globe today. We can take direct action and make our power felt if we so choose. And I'll take it a step further and argue that we don't have a choice, that the political establishment has already made that choice for us when it demonstrated to us that flooded neighborhoods in New York and New Orleans were acceptable losses as long as their penthouses stayed above water. That choice was made for us as Obama signed off on the southern leg of the Keystone XL pipeline, and as he presided over a large-scale federal campaign of undermining climate justice through the state repression of our fellow activists across the country. It is clear that where the line has been drawn, and we have not been the ones to draw it. I really hate going to jail a lot. And I hate being on the receiving end of the police state that Black and brown communities endure every day on a much greater scale. But most of all, I hate feeling powerless while the world goes to hell. And what I learned on Monday was that you have as much power as you're willing to exercise. First, the company man tried to convince me that I wasn't impacting work, and then complained that I was being disruptive, and then tried to convince me I was being selfish. And then I had a state trooper telling me how I should protest, and what my goal should be, and how I'm a hypocrite because I drive a car. And I know that if what I did didn't matter, they wouldn't have said a word to me. Likewise, when we're told to work inside the system, to cultivate good relationships with politicians who are bought and sold by the fossil fuels industry to be respectable and law-abiding, we're being convinced that we're powerless. And what I can tell you for sure, not only as a student of history, but also as a labor movement activist and a steward with my union, is that when we're organized and been brought to the point we've been pushed to, people like us are the most powerful force on the planet. There are a few things I want to ask of you. Like I mentioned before, I'm a union activist, and there are if there are any other union people here or in your circles, we've got to do better. Because not only were the Spectra workers at the site I was arrested at union members, they also helped the cops cut me out of my lock. And that's unacceptable. We need to work together to turn the labor movement around and put it on the side of history that it ought to be on. So please come talk to us at Capitalism versus the Climate over here. I also want you to consider what it means for us to take care of each other while we're fighting, like with the Occupy Sandy relief effort after Hurricane hit New York in 2012. This next week, we're going to be dealing with the consequences of another climate catastrophe that has in part to do with the Syrian civil war and its consequences there. And we're going to be back here at the Capitol at 10 a.m. next week to demonstrate our solidarity against xenophobia and hatred against Syrian refugees. So please come back here at 10 a.m. next week. Thank you.
Well, that was awesome. So I want to thank you all for coming here today. This is great to see all your beautiful faces here. It's talking about clean energy, the way to go with our state. We can do it. We know that it's technically possible. The Solution Projects tells us every state can do it. I want Connecticut to be the first. I want us to be the leaders in clean energy. Let's get off the pipelines. Let's get off the coal. Let's get off the gas and the oil. We don't need it anymore. We have come to a point in our society where we don't have to burn crap anymore to get energy. So I'm here with 350 Connecticut. We want transition for all of our workers, all of our people to clean energy. I want to see solar panels on that building. I want to see a windmill over there. I want to see our rivers creating energy for us so that we can not have to buy gas anymore and not have to build these stupid pipelines that endangers our community. We know it can be done. Aspen, Colorado's done it. Greensburg, Kansas has done it. Burlington, Vermont has done it. We can do it in Connecticut. Now, all we need is legislators and to do what we're here demanding, and the fact that you were here is great. We stopped Keystone. Don't let anyone tell you it's economics. Don't let anyone tell you it's politics. It's us right here that did it, and we can do it again. We can make our society better with clean energy, and we can make it fairer, we can make it cleaner, where we can breathe the air, we can be outside, and we can basically make our society better by going to clean energy. And I want you to come to as many of these events as you can, support 350 Connecticut.
Who likes to sing? I like to sing too, but I woke up this morning with a serious throat thing, so I'm going to need your help, all right? And I'm glad I have the microphone too. So we're going to do an adaptation of a great old Irish traditional song called The Wild Rover. Anybody familiar with that song? Yeah. So this is what I'm going to need your help with. This is the chorus. Well, it's no, nay, never. No, nay, never, no more. Will we build a new pipeline? No, never, no more. All right, let me hear you guys say it.
And it's
No, nay, never. What? No, nay, never, no more. Will I build a new pipeline? No, never, no more. Pretty good. We're going to need to do a little louder though. And if you want to get really good with it, you can do a little clap thing in between. So it's no, nay, never. No, nay, never, no more. All right, cool. So I got some words here. We're going to sing the words, and every fourth line, we're going to go into the chorus. All right? I'll cue you guys in. Well, we've built us some pipelines for many a year, from the eastern sunrise to the western frontier. But now we are seeing what will be in store. If we keep building pipelines, we will be no more. And it's no, nay, never. No, nay, never, no more. Will we build a new pipeline? No, never, no more. So I went down to Hartford to see if I could find someone in the capital with a good sense of mind. I asked them to change, they answered me nay. A natural gas pipeline, we'll have it stay, but it's no, nay, never. No, nay, never, no more. Will we build a new pipeline? no, never, no more. I went back to my home to find some more friends, and returned in a rally to the capital again. In signs and in speeches we said no more gas. We have the solution, so get off your ass, for it's no, nay, never. No, nay, never, no more will we build a new pipeline. No, never, no more. Nice job, everyone. One more. And we will keep fighting until we have won. Renewable energy for everyone. Black, white, young, old, queer, straight, and rich, poor. We will never build a new pipeline no more, for it's no, nay, never. No, nay, never, no more will we build a new pipeline. No, never, no more.
Right, that's really hard to follow. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I can just feel all the electricity. It's overwhelming, but it's very empowering. So my name is Alberto Cifuentes Jr. I'm going to speak in two roles. I'm going to speak as an organizer of Hartford Action. Hopefully many of you have heard of Hartford Action. It is a criminal justice reform grassroots team that was organized in late last year. And its mission is to empower everyday people, especially the people of Hartford, to advocate for progressive policy changes regarding criminal justice reform, regarding issues such as police brutality, mass incarceration, racial injustice in our criminal justice system, and to also improve the relationship between police officers, between law enforcement and the community, so we can live harmoniously and safely together. And we've been allied with this issue for some time now, and our support has only grown over the last couple of months. And I'm very happy to say that we will continue endorsing this cause. We will continue supporting many other organizations like 350. The Sierra Club, and so many organizations that are fighting for renewable energy.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. I'm Martha Klein with the Sierra Club. In addition to volunteering with the Sierra Club, I'm a nurse with a background in public health. So I'm going to speak about health effects from fracking and frack gas pipelines. I think this is a little bit absurd because you guys are definitely the definition of the converted. But I'm just going to run through it really quickly. I'd also like to say thank you to all the groups who organized this, 350 Connecticut, Sierra Club, Hartford Action, everybody else. Thank you so much. And don't forget, before you leave today, come over to the table here. Make sure you sign the letter to the governor. The whole point here is we're letting Governor Malloy know that this energy policy stinks. We don't like it. We definitely need to change to 100% renewable sooner rather than later. So everybody, before you leave, sign the letter. We're going to deliver them either by mail or maybe in person to Governor Malloy, and we'll be letting everyone know about that. In addition, I want to say that you're all already involved in this movement, obviously working on with what you're working on, but let's make sure that we have your email. We've got a combined email list of 350 and Sierra Club. So just sign there if you're not already on the frack gas Google group list and can participate in that with us. Okay, fracking is a problem for health and the environment. So studies have shown that fracking causes earthquakes. That's actually something you can now say. A study in Oklahoma was done, and it showed that the re-injection of the dirty fracking wastewater back into earth increased the incidence of earthquakes by 2,900%. It was definitely related to the fracking. It's also been demonstrated that living within a mile of a fracking well causes fetal death and a lot of other problems. Okay, now let's talk about the unknowns, or the less well-knowns. The EPA had released in June a study saying that fracking doesn't cause systematic harm to drinking water, whatever that word means. But just on Thursday, the Science advisory body of the EPA released a report saying that that's wrong and that you can't say that there isn't systematic damage to the well when your data is useless and it's unreliable. So yeah, fracking causes problems. Well, what about us here? We're not going to be fracked, but we're getting all that fracking gas and we'll wind up with the fracking waste. How is that going to affect us? Badly. So it's an absolute demonstrable fact that living within a certain distance of compressor station causes adverse health effects. I'm going to run through these real quickly in the interest of time. Asthma, headaches, nosebleeds, sinus problems, throat irritation. Furthermore, there's something that comes out of compressor stations called particulate matter. The safe EPA limit for that is about 12 micrograms per meter squared, and when they did a study around a compressor station, a brand new compressor station, state-of-the-art technology in Minnesink, New York, it turned out that the particulate matter was greater than 426 micrograms per meter squared. That is to say, way over the safe and allowable limit. It's been found that the air contaminants in rural areas near compressor station is worse than in New York City. The chemicals associated with compressor stations, they cause cancer, all different kinds of cancer. I'm not going to...
No more pipelines, no more gas. No more pipelines, no more gas. No.
That's our program for today. Thanks for watching. I'm Stanley Heller, and this is The Struggle.
Can't give up now. I've come too far from where I started from, and nobody told me the road would be easy, and I don't believe he's brought me this far. I don't believe he's brought me this far. I don't believe he's brought me this far to leave me. Thank you, Carla, for that beautiful song. So, hello everyone. I'm Laura Lay. I'm with 350 Connecticut, and what a beautiful, glorious day. We're so lucky to be given this beautiful gift, this gift of life. And so I invite you now to look around at the beautiful sun and feel gratitude in your heart for the earth, for the plants, the animals, this beautiful web of life which makes our life possible. And now I invite you to turn to someone next to you and thank them for coming out today to protect our beautiful world. Okay, now I invite you to say, yes, we can do this. All right, now I invite you to hold hands with the person to your left and to your right. You can put down your signs. Okay, so as our event comes to a close, I want to talk about the importance of us coming together. I used to feel such despair about the climate crisis. I'm all alone in this. And I saw there's people around the world, there's people in my community, there's people standing up to protect themselves and to impacts our beautiful world. Thank you, Martha. Thank you for standing with me. So look around. You are not